All right. Well, what happened is Temu and in another way, Shein, but in this article it is focused a little bit more on Temu. There are some products that were sold. These products were very potentially, definitely, most likely dangerous to children, right? There seems to be, if I read the story correctly, some toxins present that are not really allowed to be on children's, I don't think they were toys, just products. And they got in. And the reason they got in is because there is a sort of law in a lot of countries, but in the US specifically for this one, called de minimis, I believe. Yes, de minimis, where it basically says if your order is below $800, you don't need to worry about tariffs. Tariffs are things where basically a country will put a monetary barrier for importing a product from another country because that product is unwanted or dangerous or something about it is not good, so they have that monetary barrier. Basically, you pay a lot more in the end. Because of this sort of de minimis rule, places like Temu and AliExpress and Walmart and stuff like that are able to ship in, around, and outside of and to the US if that order is below that amount. But then they go past the tariffs and cause issues like this, where it might have been caught if it were a large imported product worth thousands and thousands of dollars. The border would be like, yeah, we can't allow this in, blah, 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 right? But since it was such a cheap order, it got in just fine. So because of this, the US is trying to investigate these sort of practices on the website, and a series of lawmakers from both parties, which is very rare in the US, are trying to take this law completely away. If there's a tariffed item, it will be tariffed no matter how little the purchase is. So,
Gotcha.
what are your thoughts on this rule that allows these imports of 800 or below?
Well, it does seem, I mean, compared to Korea, obviously I get a lot of stuff imported, and I know that the barrier to avoid import tax is $150.
Oh, much lower.
So it's way lower. So I thought, actually, the US is very generous compared to Korea. So maybe I can understand they want to bring, I mean, I hope they don't remove it completely, but if they want to bring it down, perhaps that is more in line with international feeling,
standards.
Although I don't know what other countries do. And it's really low in the UK now. I think it's maybe £100, which is lower than $150. So, yeah, it wouldn't be that weird if they did do it, but I'm sure some consumers are feeling a bit annoyed. I imagine, especially if they're like stockists. So, I mean, who's ordering $800 worth of something on? I suppose they do sell expensive products on Shein and Temu and so on, but I imagine it's more like I've got a store and I want to stock my store with, cheap products from this thing, so I'll order tons of it, $800 worth or $1,000, $10,000, and then stock my store. They're going to be the ones that get really annoyed because it put their price up to the consumer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is.
But also, if it's dangerous items, can't they just like outright ban the dangerous items? Is that not already part of import-export customs law? Like certain Korean sunscreens can't be sold in America as sunscreen because they don't meet FDA regulation. That already exists. That is a barrier to something the US doesn't want.
Yeah, that's a good point. Why take this away? Why change it? Just be like, okay, these items are banned. Done. Yeah. You try to bring them in illegally, then of course there'll be repercussions, but just ban the items.
Or is it because they have to start checking, using greater scrutiny on all the packages coming in, to check for, maybe it will cost so much to check all the packages for banned items? Is that why?
Maybe. But then they're not going to exempt the tariffs, then don't they have to check it anyway?
I guess you're right.
I'm not a tariff officer. I'm not a customs and border patrol person.
If you work in customs and excise, please tell us. Please explain this rule to us
because it
in
is
the comments.
confusing. And maybe, just maybe, this article will be expanded a little, hopefully, to add a little bit more detail. But yeah, that's a good point. Just ban it.
Yeah.
You don't like it, ban it. Just like Starlink in Brazil.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
They didn't like it, they banned it. So that kind of answered the second question that I had anyway. What did you think of them eliminating this rule? Well, could you expand a bit more? Because you said you didn't like the idea of eliminating it.
Well, yeah, if they eliminate it, that means that everything, every imported item into the US, no matter how small it is, will be charged extra money, will cost more. Which, again, maybe that's what they want. They want to make US-made products of all kinds more competitive, which it makes sense in some ways. It will boost US industry, but it does mean then everybody pays more for their stuff, for everything across the board.
Yeah, exactly.
So
artificial competition.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's not an easy solution to the products unless America starts lowering it. Does America have minimum wage? I don't know.
It does.
It probably does. State by state, it'll be different. But then if they want to make the products cheaper, then they have to cut wages. So the product production is cheaper, and I don't know. Then it all gets very complicated, and it seems like the American people lose whatever
Either
happens.
way. Well, you know what? It's not complicated. That list down below, or above, or to the side, wherever you're looking at the list of vocabulary, that's not complicated. You can study it, you can use it in your everyday English, and you can see us in the next one. Bye.
Investigate.
Investigate.
Evaluate.
Evaluate.
Comply.
Comply.
Exempt.
Exempt.
Scrutiny.
Scrutiny.